The rain hammered against the windows of Moonlight Cafe as Emma Winters wiped down the same table for the third time. Her hands trembled slightly, not from the cold Seattle evening, but from the eviction notice crumpled in her apron pocket. 3 days. That's all the time she had left before she and her 6-year-old daughter Sophia would be homeless. "Mommy, can we go home now?" Sophia asked from the corner booth where she sat, coloring, her small legs swinging back and forth. The cafe had been their second home for months now, especially on days when their tiny apartment felt too suffocating. With unpaid bills scattered across every surface. "Just a little longer, sweetheart," Emma replied, forcing brightness into her voice. "Rosa should be here soon to pick you up." The bell above the door chimed, but instead of her best friend Rosa, a woman in an expensive black coat stepped inside. She was tall, elegant, with dark hair pulled back in a perfect bun and eyes the color of storm clouds. Everything about her screamed money and power, from her designer shoes to the way she carried herself like she owned the world. Emma had never seen her before. Yet something about the woman seemed familiar. She approached the counter with purposeful strides, water droplets from her umbrella creating small puddles on the worn linoleum floor. "We're about to close," Emma said automatically, though Mr. Thompson had taught her never to turn away a customer who looked like they could afford to tip well. "I'm not here for coffee," the woman replied, her voice smooth and controlled. "I'm here for you, Emma Winters." Hey. Emma's blood ran cold. Debt collectors had been calling for weeks, but none had ever shown up at her workplace. "I don't know what you're talking about." The woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "My name is Olivia Blackstone. I own Blackstone Industries, and I have a business proposition for you." Emma had heard of Blackstone Industries. The tech empire was worth billions, and its CEO was frequently featured in business magazines as one of the most successful women under 40. But what could someone like that possibly want with a struggling cafe worker? "I think you have me confused with someone else," Emma said, instinctively moving closer to where Sophia sat, still absorbed. In her coloring book, "No confusion," Olivia said, pulling out her phone and showing Emma a photo. It was from Emma's college graduation 5 years ago, and she'd still believed she could change the world with her environmental science degree. "You're Emma Winters, 28, graduated summa cum laude from University of Washington. Former research assistant at the Pacific Northwest Environmental Institute until you had to leave to care for your daughter." Emma's chest tightened. "How do you know all that?" "I make it my business to know things," Olivia replied, slipping her phone back into her coat. "Especially about people who might be able to help me solve a rather urgent problem. It's the impossible." Offered before Emma could respond, Rosa burst through the door, shaking rain from her bright yellow coat. Her cheerful demeanor faltered when she saw the tension between Emma and the stranger. "Sorry I'm late." "Traffic was insane," Rosa said, then noticed Olivia. "Oh, sorry. Didn't realize you had a customer." "It's fine," Emma said quickly. "You take Sophia to your place tonight? I'll pick her up later." Rosa's eyes narrowed with concern, but she nodded. "Of course. Come on, princess. Uncle Miguel made his famous hot chocolate, and it's waiting for you." Sophia gathered her crayons and ran to Rosa, chattering excitedly about her drawings. After they left, the cafe felt unnaturally quiet except for the steady drumming of rain and the hum of the old refrigerator. "Well then," Olivia said, settling into the booth where Sophia had been sitting. "Shall we discuss business?" Emma remained standing, arms crossed defensively. "I don't know what kind of business we could possibly have." "The kind that could solve both our problems," Olivia replied, gesturing for Emma to sit. When Emma didn't move, she continued anyway. "I need a wife, temporarily. My grandmother's will stipulates that. I must be married by my 33rd birthday to inherit full control of the company. That gives me exactly 6 months." Emma blinked, certain she'd misheard. "You need a what?" "A wife. The marriage would be purely contractual, lasting 1 year. In exchange, you'd receive a substantial monthly allowance. Your daughter would attend the best private school in the city, and at the end of our arrangement, you'd receive a settlement. Large enough to ensure you never have to worry about money again." Emma sat down heavily, her mind reeling. "This is insane. You don't even know me." "I know enough," Olivia said, pulling out a tablet and swiping through what appeared to be a detailed background report. Single mother, struggling financially, excellent academic record, no criminal history, no social media presence that could cause scandal. You're exactly what I need. What you need is therapy, Emma shot back. Normal people don't hire wives like they're hiring employees. For the first time, Olivia's composed mask slipped slightly. Normal people don't have grandmothers who try to control their lives from beyond the grave. My grandmother believed that marriage and family would make me a better leader. She was wrong, but her will is ironclad. Emma studied the woman across from her. Despite her confident exterior, there was something vulnerable in Olivia's expression. A loneliness that Emma recognized because she'd seen it in her own mirror. Even if I was desperate enough to consider this, which I'm not, what makes you think I'd be convincing as your wife? We're nothing alike. That's exactly why it would work, Olivia said. No one would suspect a businesswoman like me of entering a fake marriage with someone so different from my usual type. The contrast would make it seem more authentic, more romantic. Emma felt heat rise in her cheeks. Your usual type? Ambitious, career-focused, emotionally unavailable? Olivia replied matter-of-factly. The kind of women who understand that. Business comes first. The weight of desperation, Emma stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. Outside, the rain continued its relentless assault on the glass, distorting the streetlights into abstract smears of yellow and white. This is crazy, she muttered, pressing her forehead against the cool glass. People don't actually do things like this. Desperate people do, Olivia said quietly. And unless I'm mistaken, you're running out of options. Emma's hand instinctively went to the eviction notice in her pocket. How could this stranger know so much about her life? Even if I was interested, which I'm absolutely not, I have a daughter to think about. I can't just uproot her life for some stranger's convenience. Your daughter would have every advantage, Olivia countered. The best education, health care, opportunities you could never provide on a cafe worker's salary, and after the year is up, the settlement would ensure she could attend any college she wanted without debt. Emma turned back to face her. Isn't everything? Says someone who's never had enough of it, Olivia replied, not unkindly. Look, I'm not asking you to love me or even like me. I'm offering you a business arrangement that benefits us both. 1 year of your life in exchange for financial security for you and your daughter. And what about love? Companionship? The things marriage is supposed to be about? Olivia's expression hardened. Love is a luxury I can't afford, and companionship is overrated. I need a solution to a legal problem, nothing more. Emma sank back into the booth, her mind spinning. The rational part of her brain screamed that this was insane, that no good could come from such an arrangement. But the desperate part? It's the part that lay awake at night, wondering how she'd feed Sophia if she lost this job too, whispered that maybe this was the miracle she'd been praying for. How much? She heard herself ask. $50,000 a month during the marriage, plus all living expenses. $2 million settlement at the end. Emma's breath caught. It was more money than she could earn in a lifetime of serving coffee and cleaning tables, enough to buy Sophia the future she deserved. I need time to think about it, she said finally. Olivia nodded and stood, pulling a business card from her. Coat. My personal number. Call me by tomorrow night if you're interested. After that, I'll find someone else. She walked to the door, then paused with her hand on the handle. For what it's worth, Emma, I wouldn't have approached you if I didn't think you were strong enough to handle this. Your daughter is lucky to have a mother who fights so hard for her. And then she was gone, leaving Emma alone with the sound of rain and the weight of an impossible decision. Emma stared at the business card long after the door had closed. Olivia Blackstone, CEO, billionaire, and apparently woman in need of a wife? She thought about Sophia's excited chatter about her friend, Jenny's birthday party at the fancy indoor playground, and how Emma had to make excuses about why they couldn't afford the entrance fee. She thought about the stack of medical bills from Sophia's bout with pneumonia last winter, the way her daughter pretended not to notice when Emma skipped meals to make sure there was enough food. Maybe love wasn't everything. Maybe sometimes survival was enough. Emma picked up her phone and stared at the number on the card. Tomorrow night seemed both impossibly far away and terrifyingly close. 1 year? 1 year of pretending to be someone else's wife? and Sophia would never have to worry about having enough again. Outside, the rain began to slow, and for the first time in months, Emma wondered if maybe the storm was finally passing. 3 weeks later, Emma stood in the marble foyer of Olivia's penthouse, clutching Sophia's hand as their few belongings were carried in by uniformed staff. The space was breathtaking and intimidating in equal measure, with floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a panoramic view of Seattle's skyline and furnishings that probably cost more than Emma's annual salary. "Wow, Mommy, it's like a palace," Sophia whispered, her eyes wide as she took in the crystal chandelier hanging above them. Olivia appeared from what Emma assumed was a home office, looking impeccable even in casual clothes. She'd changed from her usual business attire into dark jeans and a cream-colored sweater that somehow still managed to look expensive. "Welcome to your new home," Olivia said, her tone carefully neutral. "I've had the guest wing prepared for you. Both. It has its own entrance, so you'll have complete privacy." Emma felt a pang of disappointment, though she couldn't understand why. This was a business arrangement, nothing more. Privacy was exactly what they both needed. "Can I explore?" Sophia asked, practically bouncing with excitement. "Of course," Olivia replied, and Emma was surprised by the gentleness in her voice. "Be careful not to touch anything breakable. This place wasn't exactly designed with children in mind." As Sophia ran off to investigate, Emma found herself alone with her new fake wife. The silence stretched between them, filled with the weight of all the things they hadn't discussed during their brief negotiations. "The marriage certificate is being processed," Olivia said finally. "My lawyer assures me it will be ready by Friday. We'll need to attend a small ceremony at City Hall with witnesses." "Witnesses?" "My business partner James and his wife. They think this is a real marriage, obviously. We'll need to be convincing." Emma nodded, though her stomach churned at the thought of lying to innocent people. "What about after? Do we have to attend events together, occasionally? Business dinners, charity galas, the usual social obligations? Nothing too demanding." Olivia paused, studying Emma's face. "You look terrified." "I'm terrified," Emma admitted. "I've never been good at lying, and now I have to pretend to be in love with someone I barely know." Something flickered across Olivia's expression. "We don't have to pretend to be in love. Plenty of successful marriages are based on mutual respect and compatibility rather than passion. Is that what you want people to think about us? That we're just compatible?" Olivia was quiet for a long moment. "I want them to think whatever keeps them from asking too many questions." Learning to pretend, the first month passed in a strange routine. Emma enrolled Sophia in the prestigious Evergreen Academy, marveling at the facilities and opportunities that were now available to her daughter. Sophia adapted quickly, as children do, making friends and throwing herself into activities like piano lessons and art classes that Emma had only dreamed of affording. Meanwhile, Emma found herself with more free time than she'd had in years. Olivia had insisted she didn't need to work, that her job was simply to be available when needed for social appearances. It felt strange and uncomfortable at first, like she was living someone else's life. "You could go back to school, Olivia," suggested one evening as they shared a rare dinner together. It had become their habit to eat together when Olivia wasn't working late, partly for Sophia's benefit and partly because the penthouse felt less like a museum when there was conversation to fill the silence. "School?" Emma looked up from helping. Sophia cut her chicken. "Finish your master's degree. You were only a semester away when you had to leave, right?" Emma was surprised Olivia remembered that detail from her background research. "That was years ago. I'm sure my credits have expired. I could make some calls." "The University of Washington has an excellent environmental science program. They might be willing to work with your situation." "Why would you do that?" Olivia shrugged, but Emma caught something softer in her expression. "You're brilliant, Emma. It seems like a waste for that intelligence to go unused." The comment stayed with Emma for days. When was the last time someone had called her brilliant? When was the last time someone had seen potential in her beyond her ability to serve coffee or clean houses? Cracks in the facade. Their first public appearance as a married couple was at a charity gala for children's literacy. Emma spent the entire day in a state of panic, trying on and discarding outfit after outfit, until Olivia finally appeared in her room with a garment bag. "Wear this," she said simply, hanging up a stunning midnight blue dress that probably cost more than Emma's old monthly rent. "It's beautiful, but I can't accept you're my wife now, at least on paper. People will expect you to dress the part." Olivia's tone was matter-of-fact. Emma noticed the way her eyes lingered as Emma held the dress up to herself in the mirror at the gala. Emma was amazed by how naturally Olivia slipped into the role of devoted wife. She kept a gentle hand on Emma's back as they moved through the crowd, introduced her with obvious pride, and even shared what seemed like genuine smiles when Emma charmed potential donors with her passion for environmental causes. "You're a natural at this, James Mitchell," Olivia's business partner told Emma during dinner. "I've never seen Olivia so relaxed at one of these events." Emma glanced across the table where Olivia was deep in conversation with a potential investor, her usually severe expression softened by laughter. "She works too hard, she does. Maybe you'll be good for her." James raised his wine glass. 2 new beginnings. As they clinked glasses, Emma felt a flutter of something she couldn't quite name. It was dangerous, she realized. It would be so easy to forget that this was all pretend. The feeling intensified during the drive home when Olivia surprised her by reaching over and taking her hand. "Thank you," Olivia said quietly. "You were perfect tonight." Emma looked down at their intertwined fingers, struck by how right it felt. It wasn't so hard. People want to believe in love stories, do they? Olivia's voice was wistful. "Sometimes I think love is just a story we tell ourselves to make sense of biology and convenience." "That's the saddest thing I've ever heard," Emma replied. "Don't you want to fall in love someday?" "Really fall in love?" Olivia was quiet for so long that Emma thought she wouldn't answer. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "I used to. But wanting something and being capable of it are 2 different things." Unexpected intimacy. Emma's life took on a rhythm she hadn't expected. Mornings were for getting Sophia ready for school and sharing coffee with Olivia before she left for the office. Afternoons were for exploring the city, volunteering at Sophia's school, or sometimes just reading in the penthouse's magnificent library. Evenings varied between quiet family dinners and social obligations that required them to play their parts as a happily married couple. The strangest part was how natural it began to feel. Olivia was nothing like Emma had expected. Yes, she was demanding and perfectionist in her work, but she was also incredibly intelligent, unexpectedly funny, and surprisingly gentle with Sophia. She remembered Emma's favorite coffee order without being asked, left little notes about interesting articles she'd found, and somehow always knew when Emma was feeling homesick for her old life. "I miss the rain," Emma confided one evening as they stood on the penthouse balcony, looking out over the glittering city lights. "It rained yesterday," Olivia pointed out. "It's not the same." "I miss watching it from the cafe, listening to customers complain about the weather while secretly being grateful for an excuse to stay inside and drink coffee." Olivia was quiet for a moment. "Do you regret this? The arrangement?" Emma considered the question seriously. A month ago, she would have said yes without hesitation. The whole situation was bizarre and complicated, and she still wasn't sure she was cut out for the world of charity galas and business dinners. But watching Sophia thrive at her new school, seeing her daughter's face light up when she talked about her piano lessons or her new friends, made it hard to regret anything. "Ask me again in 11 months, she said finally. Olivia smiled. Emma realized it was the first completely unguarded expression she'd seen on her face. Fair enough. At night, Emma lay awake thinking about that smile. She was in dangerous territory, she knew. Somewhere along the way, the lines between pretending and feeling had begun to blur. She cared about Olivia's opinion, looked forward to their conversations, felt a genuine flutter of pride when people complimented them as a couple. It was just proximity, she told herself. Anyone would develop feelings for someone they lived with, and shared meals with, and pretended to love in public. Didn't mean anything real. But as she drifted off to sleep, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was lying to herself just as much as she was lying to everyone else. 6 months into their arrangement, Emma woke up to find Olivia making pancakes in the kitchen, still wearing her silk pajamas with her hair falling loose around her shoulders. It was a Saturday morning ritual that had developed naturally, though. Neither of them had ever acknowledged it as such. "Sophia's still sleeping," Olivia said without looking up from the stove. "I thought we could let her rest after her sleepover last night." Emma poured herself coffee from the pot Olivia had already prepared, adding the exact amount of cream she preferred. These small domesticities had become second nature to both of them, creating an intimacy that felt dangerously real. "She had a wonderful time at Rebecca's house," Emma said, settling onto one of the kitchen stools, "though I think she ate her weight in birthday cake." "Good! She should have wonderful times and too much cake. That's what childhood is for." Emma studied Olivia's profile as she flipped pancakes with surprising skill. "Did you have wonderful times and too much cake when you were little?" Olivia's hands stilled for just a moment. "Really? My mother believed childhood was for preparation, not enjoyment. Piano lessons, language tutors, etiquette classes. I was expected to be perfect at all times." "That sounds lonely." "It was practical. I learned discipline and focus. Those qualities served me well in business. But what about friends? What about just being a kid?" Olivia transferred the pancakes to a plate and finally turned to face Emma. "I had everything I needed. Just because it was different from your experience doesn't mean it was wrong." There was defensiveness in her voice, but Emma heard something else underneath it. Pain, maybe, or regret. "I wasn't judging," Emma said gently. "I just think every child deserves to feel like they can make mistakes and still be loved." "Love shouldn't be conditional on perfection," Olivia agreed quietly, "but in my experience it usually is." Before Emma could respond, Sophia came bouncing into the kitchen, her hair sticking up in every direction, and her face bright with sleep-must joy. "Pancakes," she announced, climbing onto the stool next to Emma. "Olivia, did you make the special ones with blueberries?" "Of course I did, little one," Olivia replied. And Emma's heart did something complicated at the genuine affection in her voice. As they ate breakfast together, Emma found herself studying the picture they made. To any outside observer, they would look like a real family. Sophia chattered about her sleepover while Olivia listened with surprising attention, asking questions about her friends and making mental notes about upcoming school events. Emma realized that somewhere along the way, this had stopped feeling like an arrangement and started feeling like home. The thread of discovery, the illusion of their perfect marriage, was shattered on a Tuesday morning when James burst into Olivia's home office without warning, his face grim with concern. "We have a problem," he announced, barely acknowledging Emma's presence as she looked up from her laptop, where she'd been researching graduate programs. "What kind of problem?" Olivia asked, immediately shifting into crisis mode. "Marcus Reed is asking questions about your marriage, detailed questions." Emma felt her blood run cold. Marcus Reed was Olivia's biggest business rival, a man who'd been trying to acquire Blackstone Industries for years. If he discovered their arrangement was fake, he could use it to challenge Olivia's inheritance and potentially destroy everything she'd worked for. "What kind of questions?" Olivia's voice was dangerously calm. "When you met, where you went on your honeymoon, why there are no photos of your relationship before the marriage." "He's hired a private investigator." James finally looked at Emma. "I'm sorry, but he's digging into your background too. Your financial records, employment history, everything." Emma's hands began to shake. "What happens if he finds out the truth?" "Case scenario, it becomes a public relations nightmare," James replied grimly. "Worst case, he challenges the validity of your marriage in court, and Olivia loses control of the company." "Then we make sure he doesn't find out," Olivia said firmly. "What do we need to do?" James pulled out his phone and began scrolling through. "Notes. We need evidence of a relationship that predates your marriage. Photos, witnesses, documentation of romantic involvement. You need to go on a honeymoon immediately. Somewhere public where you'll be photographed together." Emma felt like she couldn't breathe. The walls of their carefully constructed fiction were closing in around them. "I can create a paper trail," James continued. "Dinner reservations, hotel bookings, things that would suggest a longer relationship. But you two need to sell the love story, publicly and convincingly." "How long did we have?" Olivia asked. "Reed's investigator is thorough. Maybe 2 weeks before he finds something we can't explain away." After James left, Emma and Olivia sat in stunned silence. The magnitude of what they'd gotten themselves into was finally becoming clear. "I'm sorry," Olivia said finally. "I never meant for you to be dragged into corporate warfare." "This isn't your fault," Emma replied, though her voice shook slightly. "We both knew there were risks. Did we, though?" Olivia stood and began pacing, her composure finally cracking. "I thought this would be simple, a legal arrangement with clear boundaries. I never expected ... double quotes. What? What didn't you expect?" Stopped pacing and looked directly at Emma, her storm gray eyes intense with emotion. "I didn't expect to care about what happens to you. I didn't expect to worry about Sophia's happiness, or to look forward to our dinner conversations, or to feel like I was living a real life for the first time in years." Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. "Olivia ... I know this is complicated. I know we agreed this was just business. But these past 6 months pretending to be married to you, it's been the happiest I've ever been. And the thought of losing that, of losing you both, terrifies me more than losing the company." Emma stood up slowly, crossing the room until she was close enough to see the vulnerability in Olivia's eyes. "You're not going to lose us. We're going to figure this out. How can you be so sure?" Emma reached up and cupped Olivia's face in her hands, marveling at the softness of her skin. "Because this isn't pretend anymore, is it? Not for me, and I don't think it is for you either." For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then Olivia leaned down and kissed her, soft and tentative at first, then with growing certainty. Emma kissed her back, pouring all the feelings she'd been trying to suppress into the connection between them. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "This changes everything," Olivia whispered. "Good," Emma replied. "I was getting tired of pretending." Fighting for love, the next 2 weeks passed in a whirlwind of carefully orchestrated romance. They flew to Paris for a belated honeymoon, staying at the most romantic hotel they could find and making sure to be photographed at all the iconic locations. Emma had never been to Europe before, and under different circumstances, she would have been enchanted by the city of light. As it was, the constant performance left her exhausted. But there were real moments too, quiet dinners where they talked about their dreams and fears. Long walks along the Seine, where Olivia pointed out architectural details with the enthusiasm of someone who rarely got to share her passions. A morning when Emma woke up to find Olivia sketching her as she slept, the drawing filled with such tenderness that it took Emma's breath away. "I used to want to be an artist," Olivia confessed when Emma discovered the sketch. "Before I was expected to take over the company." "You still could be. It's not too late to have dreams, isn't it?" "I'm 32 years old, Emma. I have responsibilities, obligations." "You have choices," Emma corrected. "Maybe not easy ones, but choices nonetheless." They returned from Paris with hundreds of photos and a renewed determination to protect what they'd built together. But Marcus Reed wasn't finished with them. The attack came in the form of a leaked story to the business press, suggesting that Olivia Blackstone's sudden marriage was a sham designed to circumvent her grandmother's will. The article didn't have enough evidence to be truly damaging, but it planted seeds of doubt that Reed was clearly hoping would grow. "We need to go on the offensive," James advised during an emergency meeting. "A major interview, maybe a magazine spread. Something that shows the authentic emotion between you." "No," Olivia said firmly. "I won't turn our private life into a circus for his entertainment." "Then what do you suggest?" James asked, frustration evident in his voice. Emma had been quiet throughout the meeting, but now she spoke up. "Tell the truth." Both Olivia and James stared at her. "It's not about the contract," Emma clarified quickly, "but about how we feel about each other now. We go on record about our love story, how we met, how we fell in love, why we decided to build a life together. The truth has a way of being more convincing than any lie." Olivia reached for Emma's hand. "Are you sure about this? Once we do a major interview, there's no going back. Our relationship becomes public property." Emma squeezed her fingers. "I'm sure. I love you, Olivia. I love the life we've built together, and I love the family we've become with Sophia. If we have to fight for that, then let's fight. The truth will set you free, though." Interview was scheduled for the following week, with the city's most respected business journalist. Emma spent days preparing, knowing that their future depended on her ability to convince the world that her love for Olivia was real. The irony wasn't lost on her. She would be telling the truth about her feelings while maintaining the lie about how their relationship began. But as she sat across from the journalist, Olivia's hand warm in hers, Emma realized that the origins of their relationship mattered less than where it had led them. "People are curious about your love story," the journalist began. Olivia Blackstone, one of the city's most eligible bachelorettes, suddenly married to someone completely outside the business world. "How did you two meet?" Emma and Olivia exchanged a look, and Emma saw her own determination reflected in Olivia's eyes. "I was working at a cafe in my hometown when Olivia came in during a rainstorm," Emma began, sticking to the story they'd rehearsed, but infusing it with genuine emotion. "She was dealing with some family business, and she seemed so sad and alone. I don't know why, but I wanted to help her." "And what drew you to Emma?" the journalist asked Olivia. "Her kindness," Olivia replied without hesitation. "Emma has this way of seeing the best in people, even when they can't see it in themselves. She made me want to be the person she believed I could be." As the interview continued, Emma found herself telling their story with complete honesty. She talked about how Olivia had encouraged her to go back to school, how she'd embraced Sophia as her own daughter, how their different backgrounds had made them stronger as a couple rather than weaker. "There are rumors that your marriage is simply a business arrangement," the journalist said bluntly. "What do you respond to those accusations?" Emma felt Olivia tense beside her, but she kept her voice steady. "I understand why people might think that. Our backgrounds are different, and the timing might seem convenient, but I can tell you that what Olivia and I have is real. When you love someone, you don't care about their bank account or their social status. You care about who they are when no one else is watching. And who is Olivia when no one else is watching?" The journalist pressed. Emma smiled, thinking of Saturday morning pancakes and bedtime stories for Sophia, and quiet moments on the balcony under the stars. "She's the woman who remembers how I like my coffee, who helps my daughter with her homework, who still gets excited about architecture and art even though she pretends to be all business. She's the woman I fell in love with, not the CEO everyone else sees." The journalist turned to Olivia. "And what about you? What do you love about Emma?" Olivia was quiet for a moment, and Emma could see her choosing her words carefully. "Emma taught me that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone who makes you want to be perfect for them. She and Sophia gave me something. I didn't even know I was missing a family." A new beginning. The interview aired to positive reviews, and the rumors about their marriage quickly faded. Marcus Reed's attempts to challenge Olivia's inheritance were dismissed by the courts. Blackstone Industries remained under her control. But more importantly, Emma and Olivia had found something neither of them had been looking for when they entered their contract marriage. They'd found real love. 6 months later, as their original one-year agreement neared its end, they sat on their balcony watching the sunset over Seattle. Sophia was inside, practicing piano with the determined concentration she'd inherited from both her mothers. "The year's almost up," Olivia said quietly. "It is," Emma agreed. "I was thinking maybe we should renew our contract." Emma turned to look at her, eyebrow raised. "What kind of contract?" Olivia reached into her pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, the kind where we promise to love each other for the rest of our lives, the kind where we choose each other every day, not because we have to, but because we want to. Emma's eyes filled with tears as Olivia opened the box to reveal a simple, elegant ring. "Emma Winters, will you marry me, for real this time?" "Yes," Emma whispered, then louder, "Yes, absolutely yes." As Olivia slipped the ring onto her finger, Emma realized that sometimes the best love stories are the ones that start with a lie and end with the truth. Their contract marriage had given them both what they thought they wanted: financial security for Emma, inheritance rights for Olivia. But it had also given them something neither had dared to hope for. It had given them each other, from inside the penthouse. They could hear Sophia playing a new piece on the piano, the melody floating out to join them on the balcony. Emma leaned against Olivia's shoulder, watching the city lights begin to twinkle in the gathering dusk. "No more contracts," she said softly. "No more contracts." Olivia agreed, pressing a kiss to the top of Emma's head. Just promises we actually intend to keep. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And as the Seattle skyline sparkled before them, Emma knew that sometimes the most unexpected arrangements could lead to the most extraordinary love stories. The end.